The news show Breaking Points is misleading people about Ukraine. There, I said it. You know, just a couple months back, Preston Stewart made a video about some of the errors in Breaking Point's coverage of Gaza. And Preston Stewart is a West Point Army artillery officer, and he continues to serve honorably in the reserves. He was very charitable in his review of their mistakes. I am a retired platoon sergeant and a typical SIG guy. I'm going to be a lot less charitable because at this point, I think the staff at Breaking Points is misleading people intentionally. Now, there is no way a news organization can be this ignorant about military events. These guys managed to be worse than the New York Times. And I did a whole video about how the New York Times only had 27 people out of 8,700 staff who were former military. The New York Times is pretty bad. These guys are worse. Now, this video from Breaking Points came out on August 13th, 2024, regarding Ukraine's Kursk offensive. This is an offensive led by Ukraine that has pushed about 40 or so kilometers inside Kursk Oblast of Russia. I say or so because we really don't know. Ukraine has kept such good OPSEC or operational security of the attack that most of the information that we have is from evacuating Russians. Now, the video published by Breaking Points was riddled with errors and conjecture and opinion. And I'm going to go over this video frame by frame and mistake by mistake and correct the record. Now, I'll only be showing selected clips. This video is under their copyright, but this review is fair use for commentary. And believe me, I got some commentary.
Oh boy.
So just as a note, you can watch the full video from Breaking Points at the link below. Good fact checking is transparent, and all of my data can be found at ryanmcbeth.substack.com for free. Let's get started. The first misleading statement comes within the first 10 seconds of the video with this line from co-hosts Sagar and Jetty.
We have a crazy situation right now in Ukraine. Media that barely even wants to report it. The United States is currently backing a full-blown invasion of Russia.
Oh boy, I don't even know where to start with this one. So, the Wall...
Actually, would you... No, you could. I was just thinking of the term invasion. If somebody invades you and you're fighting a war, and then you like counter invade, would you call that an invasion? I feel like colloquially, invasion seems to imply the start of a conflict. That's what that feels like to me. So, like for instance, if somebody says like, "Oh, yeah, wait, hold on." So what you just said there, I don't think I've ever seen that term before, or seen it said that way. Yes, we invaded Germany in World War II. I don't think I've ever seen that before. I don't think I've ever seen anybody, or I don't know if I'd hear anybody say something like, this is when the U.S. invaded Germany. I feel like invasion usually implies like start of a conflict. What would you say? I don't know, like counter invade? We were planning to invade Japan. Yeah, but I don't know, but I feel like that was less like an invasion and more like invading like a particular thing. Like you're invading like a, like you can do like a particular invasion, but to say that like they invaded in this year sounds like the start more of a conflict kind of thing. At least that's what it feels like to me.
Wall Street Journal has been reporting on this since at least August 9th. And the New York Times has been talking about this since August 7th. And NBC had a video about it on August 8th. So either Mr. Andretti doesn't read the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times, which is bad, or none of the Breaking Point staff does, which is bad, or they did and they lied about it anyway, which is bad. There's really only three possible options here. So it's one of those three. Now, every day I wake up and I spend 2 hours reading the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Haaretz, and then multiple intelligence newsletters cover to cover. I can't expect everyone to do that, but if you're making a mistake 8 seconds into your video, you might want to rethink your production process. Or you're doing it intentionally, knowing that your audience is never going to check. Hi, I'm the guy who checks. Now, there is one other possibility, and that is since there really is no video coming out of Kursk, the nightly news or CNN just has a harder time talking about it. No video, no story. There's only so many times you can show the same Su-27 flying over the same patch of ground. Now, and this was just only in the first 4 seconds. Let's talk about the other 4 seconds.
The United States is currently backing a full-blown invasion of Russia.
The United States is backing a full-blown invasion of Russia. All right. I don't know if that's true. I can tell you this. I work for a private intelligence contractor. That's one of my 4 jobs. I knew nothing about this. Nobody I know in the intelligence community knows anything about this. In fact, I've been spending the past few days talking with people over Signal who should know about this, and they don't. Nobody knows what the heck Ukraine is doing or what their goals are in this Kursk incursion. Now, I do have a theory about what is going on in Kursk, but I'll get to that. If you want to skip to that directly, you can go to this time somewhere up here. Let's keep going.
Now, philosophically, I don't really have a problem with this. Of course, whenever you're in a war, you should be doing whatever you need to. The issue is not what the Ukrainians are doing. It's the fact that U.S. NATO weaponry is being employed to literally invade Russia.
Now, this isn't a lie, but what Mr. Andretti is doing here is parroting a Russian talking point about escalation. And I want to start by saying that Russia doesn't need an excuse to escalate. Russia is like Aunt April in that Tyler Perry movie. They can do bad all by themselves. They don't need a reason. And I'd also point out that during Vietnam, when Russian missiles were shooting down American B-52s, did anybody say, whoa, Russia, you can't do that. It's escalating. You're escalating with a nuclear power. That would have been absurd. And it's absurd saying it now.
So I think I said before, I don't think, I used to say that there were no times when U.S. and Soviet forces directly shot at each other. I think this did happen, though, in Vietnam. I think we corrected that a while ago. But there were times during the Vietnam War where we had some direct confrontation between the both of us.
Missiles were shooting down American B-52s. Did anybody say, whoa, Russia, you can't do that. It's escalating. You're escalating with a nuclear power. That would have been absurd. And it's absurd saying it now. This is a defensive war. Ukraine is using a variety of homegrown, captured Russian, and NATO weapons to defend itself. And what is the end result of this escalation? Is Russia going to bomb Ukraine harder?
Pretty sure it happened in Korea as well. It might have. I don't know fuck all about the Korean War, but
they're already doing that. Remember, Russia can do bad all by themselves. They don't need a reason. Now, typically, the next spooky thing that comes out is that this could result in NATO going to war with Russia. That's not going to happen because Russia doesn't want it to happen. Russia knows that it can't defeat NATO. It can barely even fight Ukraine. Russia needs to keep NATO the heck out of this war. And that's why they sling lies and disinformation on the internet. They know they can't defeat NATO militarily. But if they can get NATO's population to tell their politicians to turn off funding, then Russia might have a chance at defeating Ukraine. This is why I say disinformation is a weapon that shapes the battlefield. If Russia wanted to stop munitions from entering Ukraine, they could bomb some German artillery factory. And what would that cause? That would cause NATO to go to war with Russia. Or Russia could convince the German population not to support Ukraine by telling them that Ukraine is corrupt. Your money is going toward buying cars for the Zelensky family. But the effect is the same. The ammunition gets turned off. You could...
Wait, how many likes did this have? 26,000 views.
Family. But the effect is the same. The ammunition gets turned off. You could bomb or you could use disinformation. Disinformation is a weapons system. Let's keep going.
This is not disputed territory. This is internationally...
Does he do this to protect himself from copyright? This little like setup where he's watching the TV?
recognized.
Or maybe it's just like a little queuing thing he does for no reason.
This is not disputed territory. This is internationally recognized an invasion. And that is literally the justification for every dollar of the hundreds of billions that we have shipped to Ukraine.
Okay, so there's two things wrong with this. Mr. Andretti is kind of implying that Ukraine has lost the moral high ground because they invaded Russia, and this is supposed to be a defensive war. And he talks about billions of dollars we sent to Ukraine. Now, one trope among Russian sophists is that the U.S. is loading up C-17s with pallets of money and just releasing it by parachute over Ukraine like the Joker in Batman. And that's...
Yeah, I think we just drop directly the Bugattis for all of the Zelensky government officials. We don't actually send them money anymore. We just send them the cars directly.
just not true. We're sending some cash, and other countries that have fewer weapons are sending cash. But for the most part, we're sending old weapons. Rocket fuel expires. If we don't shoot these HIMARS and Patriot missiles, we have to send them back to the factory where they are disposed of in a very expensive demilling process because it's hazardous waste. Now, ideally, we could shoot them, but there aren't enough training days on the calendar to do that. So why not give these expiring weapons to Ukraine? It saves disposal cost, and that cash he mentioned goes to buying new rockets. That means American jobs are produced for stuff we have to buy anyway. Let's keep going.
And then just consider, can any great power nation sit there and tolerate an invasion of its own territory?
Honestly, maybe. You know, one of my master's degrees is in engineering management. It's basically an MBA.
One of my master's degrees? Okay, bro. Okay, little bro.
For engineers. And when making business decisions, one option is always to do nothing. You know, some people say that Ukraine started this incursion because they want Russia to move troops from the south to the north so Ukraine can attack in the south. And I don't think that was the plan. I say that because, let's say Russia takes 1 out of every 3 soldiers out of the Zaporizhzhia, Kherson, Donetsk, Luhansk to form a new unit and go north. Well, you still have a bunch of landmines and fortifications to deal with, so you really haven't reduced enemy capability all that much. Remember that scene in the 2000...
I feel like if you were to try to reduce enemy capability, it might not be for an invasion, but it might be to lessen the pressure being put up by... it might be to reduce the pressure being put up by by like an actual aggressive act, right? So like just because you get them to pull some defensive fortifications out of the bottom or out of the south doesn't mean that now you can suddenly invade, because like you said, there's a whole bunch of layer defense and everything else. But if they're applying a lot of pressure to you in an aggressive manner, couldn't you theoretically get them to lessen up or ease up on that aggression by pulling some soldiers back there? Maybe I don't know enough about the on the ground situation to say. I don't even know if with how military doctrine works today and everything that's involved, if that would even do anything. I'm not sure. I don't actually know. It's just a guess.
4 version of The Punisher where Frank Castle hits the Russian hitman and the dude just looks at him like, what? Russia may view this incursion as a do-nothing response. Yeah, contain it, but don't let it detract from your main goal, because eventually the advance should run out of steam, maybe. It's almost like by ignoring it and not reacting to it, Russia is refusing to take the bait. So let's keep going.
And there is no doubt, Crystal, that this is 100% with the backing of the United States.
Oh, there's doubt. I doubt it because, again, I don't know anybody who knew this was going to happen. Ukraine has displayed incredible OPSEC, almost to the point where they didn't even let NATO know. Let's keep going.
Can we sit here and risk a literal invasion of Russia at the same time that we have billions of dollars in military assets steaming towards the Middle East?
So I think it's safe to say that Mr. Engetti is not a military strategist, and it kind of shows. I actually looked him up on LinkedIn. He was a Pentagon correspondent, but he really doesn't have any military experience. So one of the things you need to understand is that the U.S. isn't the hokey pokey. We're not what it's all about. See all of those flags up there? Every single one of these flags represents an allied nation who sent me a patch from their uniform. The U.S. military is built to fight a two-front war. Any attack from Iran would be a mostly American, Israeli, Saudi, and Jordanian naval and air force fight with assets that we already have in the Middle East. Any fight in Europe would be a ground and air fight with...
Wait. If people gave me some patches when I was in Israel, should I start hanging these up? Does this give me credibility? Can I start soliciting patches from you guys?
Mostly NATO.
These are just like patches given by veterans, right? Not by like the country itself doesn't award a patch, right?
Two-front war. Single one of these flags stand is that the U.S. isn't the hokey pokey. We're not what it's all about. See all of those flags up there? Every single one of these flags represents an allied nation who sent me a patch from their uniform. The U.S. military is built...
It's got to be like a person, right?
...for a two-front war. Any attack from Iran would be a mostly American, Israeli, Saudi, and Jordanian naval and air force fight with assets that we already have in the Middle East. Any fight in Europe would be a ground and air fight with mostly NATO units. The Navy wouldn't really be all that involved. So we have enough assets to deal with both problems, and anybody who knows even a little bit about the military would know that. Let's keep going.
The fact that the Biden administration finally caved and sent those F-16 fighter jets, that is a big part of
that the Biden administration caved.
The reason why they were able to make these gains.
Okay, so I don't even know where to begin here. First off, the Biden administration did not send any jets. The F-16 fighters are older jets from the Netherlands and Denmark, although Belgium and Norway have pledged jets. I don't think any of those have arrived yet. So these really weren't our jets to give. Now, when you do a transfer to another nation, the initial nation that sold you those jets has to approve that foreign military sale. There's rules in the contract about foreign military sales and transfers, and failure to abide by those rules mean you're in breach of contract. So the U.S. had to approve the transfer, but they're not U.S. jets. Now, those F-16s have played literally zero role in the conflict. Right now, those jets are just cutting holes in the sky over Odessa. Ukraine needs to figure out how to integrate those jets into their system. That's going to take a couple of months. Just getting them flying is step one. But to say that F-16s are being used in the incursion is either intentionally misleading or willfully ignorant. It is one of those two things. This came from co-host Crystal Ball. She doesn't have a LinkedIn, but her Wikipedia page, again, doesn't list any military service. So perhaps if you don't know what you're talking about, don't talk about it. Or call me. My email address is on my website. I live right across the river from where you shoot the show. Have me as a guest. I'm not going to steal you wrong. But please, don't talk about things you don't understand. Let's keep going.
That all of the precision-guided munitions are very, very difficult to manufacture here in the U.S. We have very limited stocks of them. And of course, what has the Biden administration done? They've decided to greenlight shipping those precision-guided munitions for the F-16 back to Ukraine.
This is incredibly misleading. The truth is that there are some precision-guided munitions that are difficult to manufacture, but the precision-guided munition that was sent, in this case, is a type of bomb called a JDAM, or Joint Direct Attack Munition.
Some say that the Turkman is born with the ability to distinguish the sound of these after only hearing 1 second of video footage. You know this?
I believe they also have some JDAM ERs, which is an extended range glide bomb. Now, these are not that difficult to manufacture. The JDAM is basically a dumb bomb. We have hundreds of thousands of these things. And we take a bolt-on kit and we slap it onto the weapon, and now it's precision guided. It is a really cheap solution, and we have plenty of them. The next thing I want to show you, and now it's precision guided, dumb bomb. We have hundreds of thousands of these things. And we take a bolt-on kit and we slap it onto the weapon, and now it's precision.
Oh,
I
damn.
believe they also have some JDAM ERs, which is an extended range glide bomb. Now, these are not that difficult to manufacture. The JDAM is basically a dumb bomb. We have hundreds of thousands of these things. And we take a bolt-on kit and we slap it onto the weapon, and now it's precision guided. It is a really cheap solution. And we have plenty.
The bolt-on kit allows you to, it'll, I don't actually know all the different stages or all the different types of, when we say precision guided. Like, does precision guided imply that it can change trajectory or change location, change target mid-flight? Or does it imply that once dropped, it has like surfaces that it can use to like maneuver around things, or to ensure like accurate, is it just ensuring accurate delivery to a predetermined target?
Of them. The next thing I want to show you is where Mr. Andretti just kind of drops the mask. If you didn't think that Sagar Andretti was pro-Russia, you will now.
And usually when the Ukrainians pull some terrorist attack or whatever in Russia, they're like, oh.
Look, to call the Ukrainians terrorist
attacks. Oh, please hit on this. Yeah, everything today, because we just don't do war anymore. Nobody's like used to war. It's all like terrorist attacks and genocides and ethnic cleansing. All of it is. It's all like, it wouldn't surprise me. Has anybody talked about how Ukraine ethnically cleansed Russians from Kursk or whatever the fuck this region is called? Like, we use these terms for everything.
Our own country is certainly a collection of words that can be used in an English sentence. But at this point, I'm kind of wondering what side Mr. Andretti is on. Ukraine is being invaded, and it doesn't...
Ooh, that's the first stupid fucking thing that Ryan has said. Why are you wondering what side he's on? There should be no doubt in your mind.
But at this point, I'm kind of wondering what side Mr. Andretti is on. Ukraine is being invaded, and it doesn't seem like Mr. Andretti is on the side...
He's being tongue-in-cheek? Yes, so am I, obviously.
...of democracy here. And then Mr. Andretti says something that's really interesting.
And then this morning in the Wall Street Journal, they talk about how the Ukrainian commander is begging for more troops. They have no idea what to do. They've had 6 days worth of success. And now they're like, do we hold this territory? What do we do with this territory? Now we have to pull stuff away from previous defensive fronts. Over here, their own military leadership has no idea what to do.
So Mr. Andretti does read the Wall Street Journal, or maybe he just skims it, because I don't think we read the same article, which I think was, Ukraine's Russia incursion faces dilemma after quick gains. Nobody is begging, but there is a line in the article that says, the dilemma for Ukraine's leadership is whether the quest for further gains is worth wagering significantly more troops and military equipment that are sorely needed on the eastern front in Ukraine, where Kyiv's forces are struggling to contain Russian advances. And then there's another line that says, maybe I'm in the same position now as a pilot who doesn't understand why I sold a trench, said a Ukrainian battalion commander fighting near the eastern logistical hub of Petrovsk, where Russia has accelerated its advance in recent weeks, but my 1,000 men are very badly needed here. And the truth is that every battalion commander is going to ask for more men. Nobody has ever won a war by defending. And that's kind of what Ukraine is trying to do here. Maneuver warfare, where the landmines and trenches aren't. Now, I don't know if the Ukrainians don't know what to do. I think they know exactly what to do. And that is keep exploiting weak spots and going northeast into the Kursk Oblast and shoot everybody who isn't dressed like them that isn't a civilian. That's kind of their plan here. Just keep going. Kind of like the Hail Mary play in football. Pass the initiative to who's ever open and don't get bogged down. Just keep going. So I'm not sure if we read the same article, but that article will be below if you want to read it, although it might be paywall. Let's keep going.
So yeah, it's been a good PR stunt.
So here's where I give my analysis. I don't know exactly what Ukraine is doing, but I can give 3 possible options. And no, it's not a PR stunt. That is a side effect. That's incidental. Number 1, it is possible that Ukraine is trying to reach some kind of objective in Kursk, although I don't know what that is. Number 2, it's possible this is a feint. This is a military operation where you give the impression you're going to do something, but actually you go do something else. So perhaps Ukraine intends to attack someplace else, but they don't want Russia to know that, so they want Russia to think that this is the main effort. And number 3, I think this is what Ukraine is really doing here. I think Ukraine is trying to force Russia into a general mobilization. When the war first started, it was fought with active duty volunteers, kontraktniki. And then Russia went through this period of general mobilization in September 2022. That was a freaking disaster. The records weren't up to date. Conscripts were being pushed into units, no training. People who got deferments for health reasons were being called up. You saw dudes who served in Afghanistan 40 years ago looking like that.
I don't know if Oh, okay, yeah, he just brought that up. Fuck, I saw a Twitter headline. I need to just not even repeat this news at all. Let me look for this. I saw like a Twitter headline or something that said that in order to defend the current push into Russia, that Russia was taking all the prior people that had been rejected for health reasons and conscripting those people to fight. But I don't know if that's true or not. Oh, wait, hold on. Somebody has this tweet. Hundreds of Russians who have refused to fight for various reasons, age, sickness, mental health, are reported to have been taken from a military base where they were being held and flown to Kursk, where they would likely be used in efforts to repel Ukraine's incursion. Although, okay, I guess this doesn't just say... It says they refuse to fight for various reasons, so maybe they aren't actually sick. They could just be, you could argue, draft dodgers or whatever. Astra reports that hundreds of refuseniks have been held at Kamenka near St. Petersburg, where the 138th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade is based. Relatives say that some are unfit to fight. One man is 70 years old and can barely walk, and another has only one eye. As a rule of thumb, meaning I don't know if this always applies, and I might just be a boomer because I don't usually grab news from Twitter for a variety of reasons, because I consider this one of the most unreliable platforms on the internet right now. Not to say that everything is bad on it. I just don't know the accounts that I would consider trustworthy or anything. Anytime I'm getting pictures of stuff and hearing things like one person said that a person is 70 years old and one person said, I'm always just like very reluctant to just buy it outright. Even when like videos and pictures are being shown, like I can't contextualize any of this. I don't know how much is true or not true, but not to say whether or not it's trustworthy or not trustworthy. I don't know. Just as a rule of thumb, I don't typically.
And for the most part, in Russia's recent history, the elites in Moscow and St. Petersburg were down with whatever Putin wanted to do, as long as you didn't touch their kids. And a general mobilization touched their kids. So Russia stopped.
That's exactly. Never mind.
To do, as long as you didn't touch their kids. And a general mobilization touched their kids. So Russia stopped that. They relied on volunteers. They relied on Wagner. Most of these volunteers were from poor areas of Russia, and Wagner was a lot of prisoners. So I think that this incursion was designed not to embarrass Russia, but to force Russia to recognize that there aren't enough troops and force another general mobilization. And if that happens, the populations of Moscow and St. Petersburg will go absolutely ape. And that's when you could see Putin overthrown. So let's keep going.
The longer this drags on, the moral ambiguity increases, the so-called justness of their cause decreases, their overall ability to even stand this without literally tens of billions of dollars a month having to flow there in Western aid. It shows us that this cannot go on forever. And we all know how it's going to end.
So this is incredibly misleading. First off, Russia is engaged in a war of aggression and dominance.
When we say we all know how this is going to end, I thought these guys have been saying that it's going to end like every single month for the last, 2.5 years or whatever? Or how many, when was the initial invasion? Boom, February 2022. Okay, 2 years. Yeah, no, 2.5 years. Yeah, what happened?
Ukraine is not. Ukraine performed this operation to achieve some sort of military or political goal. So to say that Ukraine has lost the moral high ground because they're on the offensive, it's incredibly disingenuous. And then to say, we all know how this war is going to end. Wow. I mean, if you're a woman and you're being assaulted by someone in an intimate nature and that guy has 100 pounds on you, would you just let it happen or would you fight back? Because we all know how this is going to end. There's always a chance. Can you imagine someone in America after Pearl Harbor saying, Japan destroyed all of our battleships. We know how this is going to end. We should just give up.
True. Notice me, Senpai, I have some Trump secret to tell you. About what?
No, man, you fight. So I don't even know why you would say something like that. I would hate to live in a world where good refuses to stand up to evil because it's hard. I mean, doing the hard thing is part of being the good guys.
Wait, actually, didn't we win? We won these naval battles. Am I wrong? I haven't studied any World War shit in great detail. How did we win this after, right? Yes. Okay. Just making sure my timelines aren't fucked. Well, how did we win these if they bombed our Pearl Harbor shit? The fuck? What happened? The Battle of Midway. Yeah. It's called We Own the Finish Line. True. Biden was a naval officer on one of these ships. You know, actually, speaking of Biden being a naval officer, this is the last one for today. Yeah, we take those. We take those. 4 battleships sunk, 4 damaged. 1 X-battleship sunk. 3 light cruisers damaged. 3 destroyers damaged. 188 aircraft destroyed. Wait, how did this attack suck so much shit? The general meme is that the Japanese attacked the destroyers and carriers. They didn't focus on the fuel and maintenance hangars. That, plus bombs not being as effective as they could be, resulted in them repairing the ships much quicker than expected. How do you fuck up this bad? You know, they should have taken notes from. They should have went into the future. And they should have copied these guys. The Jews. They know how to do surprise air attacks. In a few hours, I think they completely obliterated Egypt's entire fucking air force. This was meme shit. Do they have the amount of shit destroyed immediately?
So there you have it. Breaking Points has managed to mislead its audience with inaccuracies, poorly researched statements, and questionable motives. It is disheartening to see a platform that claims to represent the truth fall so short of the mark, especially on an issue as critical as the war in Ukraine. It's one thing to make mistakes. I mean, everyone does. But when those mistakes consistently align with harmful Russian narratives and misleading takes, it becomes something else entirely. Misinformation can have real-world consequences. And in times of war, those consequences can be dire. My advice, fact check everything, guys, especially from sources who should know better. Like me, I'll come on the show as your intel guy. I live right across the river. I can make it happen, and your show will be better for it. As viewers, we have a responsibility to hold media accountable. And as content creators, we have an even greater responsibility to be accurate and transparent. If you're looking for a balanced take on these issues, dig deeper, cross-reference, and don't take everything at face value. And hey, if you want to support the channel, hey, grab one of my Intel Life t-shirts from Bunker Branding or sign up for my Substack. It's like $5. Thank you guys so much for watching.
Oh, wow, Daddy, cigarettes. If I smoke these, I'll be cool.
Hey, kid, what are you doing?
Think tank.
You know, kid, smoking isn't cool. The t-shirts, stickers, and hoodies from Bunker Branding sure are.
Wow, alcoholics moving cargo. Awesome.
Intel Life, Aerosol, Live, Laugh, Lunch for Destroyer, Trident, HIMARS, and Patriot. Think outside the bomb. Drone Sweet Drone, Department of the Boat People.
landmine, and even the tow missile. It would behoove you to grab one today. I better take these. Don't worry, I'll destroy them by burning. And remember, bunker branding is cool. Now I know, and knowing is half the battle. Bunker branding!
Wow. Okay. I linked the video in chat.